What's up, everyone? This is David with Next Air. I got Miss Beth, our beautiful representative here. Today, we're going to be speaking with Miss Gina Millard. She's a representative from New Hampshire School of Mechanical Trades. She's going to get into us a little bit about the school, some things that they see find success when it comes to being in the trades. She's going to talk about kind of what it takes to find success, who it's for, what kind of entails in the day in life. I really hope you guys look forward to this and enjoy it. So I think you've been talking with Miss Beth a little bit. Um, Kind of what we're gonna do is just give you guys a chance to talk about what you guys do at the mechanical school, kind of who's like a good fit for you guys, what you're seeing. You could touch a little bit about like the program itself if you'd like. Um, do you work in any trades yourself, or do you work full time for the school?
Just full time for the school.
Full time for
Yeah.
the
I
school.
manage all three locations of our
Oh,
school.
wow, great.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. All right. So if you could just give us a little bit of background about yourself and then a little bit of background about the school as well, just to give the parents a little bit of idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. So definitely. I guess for starting with myself, my dad is one of the owners of the school. He owns it with one of his longtime business partners. They used to be oil heat technicians down in Massachusetts, and as they were getting to that retirement age, they were looking into teaching and teaching full time. They had been teaching while working for many, many years down in Massachusetts. And I was a college student here in Manchester, and my at my apartment, my oil unit wasn't working, and he was very frustrated with the help that was up here, and that determined where we were going to open up the location.
No
I
way.
kind of got roped in. Was not expecting to be so much a part of the school. But then after that year, he and John decided to start looking for a location. And that was about 13 years ago. We opened up in Manchester. They started building out the space and needed somebody to answer phone calls, and that's how I got roped into the office. Basically, I was a graduate from college and I had nowhere to go with my degree, and I decided to start helping him out answering phones while I was looking, and then I stuck around for 13 plus years now.
Okay.
Wow,
So what were you studying
great.
in college?
I did art. So I did
Art. Okay.
Nice.
painting, and I have a bachelor's degree in fine arts. I
Nice.
still use a little bit of it for designing ads and the
Mhm.
catalogs, and I do a lot of the photography for the school itself. So the
Okay.
website and stuff is a lot of it is my own design. I'm still not
Wow.
technical, so I do have assistance on that, but I help bring in a lot of the images and everything that you see on our website is of our school. Like I try not to use stock photos if I don't have to.
Okay. Heck yeah.
I feel like the images are what really show people what we have to offer compared to other
Mhm.
schools. Most schools don't have all the equipment and stuff that we have to teach students on the different topics that we have available. But yeah, so when we started up the school, our big focus was on heating because Dean and John were heating technicians, and oil heat class was originally designed by them while they were teaching at another school. So they brought that same design to our school, and that was the first classes that we ran. And then we expanded it to the air conditioning. So we had the oil, the air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing. And we are slowly branching more into refrigeration as well. We haven't quite hit that point yet, but it is in our back pocket, and we're hoping to advance in that in the next year or two. So that way we can have more extensive classes to the HVAC kind of industry
Heck yeah.
standards.
So when it comes to like the school itself, you guys got three different locations. Does a location focus on specific things, or do you guys have all three focus on everything?
All three focus on everything. We tried to make them almost as mirror image as we can, so that way everybody in those different areas have the same opportunity. The newest location in Moultonborough in the Lakes Region area is not as fully functional. The building itself had some restrictions, so we weren't able to have the equipment that we wanted in there because it gives too much smoke, and the smoke
Oh,
alarm
okay.
kept going off. So some of it's a little more I guess, show and tell at this point. So that one's a little less hands-on compared to the other classes, but we try to give it as much as we can. It just may not be 100% fully functional like the Manchester or Hampton location. But we are working on that for the future. And now that we know our limitations, we're trying to find other ways that we can make it work or work around it and help develop that in the future.
Okay, so then what all is like you kind of touched on it, the HVAC, the plumbing, but what do so when the parents are thinking about if the kid's interested in the trades, what are some like technical skills or things they need to maybe start preparing beforehand if they think that's the route they're gonna go?
Our hands-on classes don't need any experience. So they can
Wow,
start from
really?
absolutely nowhere. The Plumbing 101 is a rudimentary plumbing course. So that is designed specifically for younger people that want to get into the trades. So
Okay.
it gives them a understanding of what it is to be a plumber. Is this the career path they want to go down? Because the plumbing and electrical have a 4-year apprenticeship. So
Hmm.
it kind of gives them a foot in the door so that way they can see what it's like to see if they actually want to pursue that path. Because sometimes they have an idea in their head, like, I want to be an electrician because of XYZ. And then they get in the class and they're like, that's not what I expected. So it kind of gives them that exploration before they commit to finding a job and getting their apprentice card and doing all of that work. They can take our electrical 101 or our plumbing 101 and be able to explore the trade prior to making that full commitment. And then also gives them a little bit of exploratory with tools and materials. So if they've never used tools before, we teach them how to even use like a tape measure. You'd be surprised how many
No
kids
way.
use a tape measure. Um, so they don't have to come in knowing anything. They literally
Okay.
can be anybody straight out of high school, or even kids that are currently in high school can take those classes. It is geared towards a lower level because it's introductory to the fields. Like if
Yeah,
they've
makes
never
sense.
done anything mechanical in their lives, these are great courses to start with. Our other hands-on courses like oil, heat, and air conditioning technician, they are designed also for people who don't know anything, but are a little more mechanically inclined. So they know they like to tinker with things, they've used tools in the past, and they kind of want to go down this career path, but they're not sure if this is exactly what they want to do. Those help them tremendously. It does basic electricity for the machines, and it goes through how to work on, clean them, how to maintain them, how to troubleshoot them. So as they're going through the class, it starts off very basic, and then it goes into what they would be expected of them for their if they're working out in the field. So some companies have now started using this class as like in-house training. So when they hire somebody who has very little experience, they send them through our classes so that way they are more quickly able to get out into the field on their own. They still need a little bit of supervision coming out of our classes because we can't teach them everything, but it gives them a good understanding of where these people stand and what they're capable of doing, and then they can monitor them for a few months and then let them get into their own truck. So we've had a lot of companies, especially in our evening classes, send their own guys over. So companies are actually paying people to come to our classes.
Oh, wow, no way. How
Yeah.
long is the typical class? Like, how many weeks does it usually run for?
So the evening class is 2 days, 2 nights a week for 15 weeks, and then the day
Okay.
classes are 2 days a week for 8 weeks. So they're
Okay.
the same class, it's just different duration.
Okay. And then have you said something about the kids can do it in high school. Do they get like so if it's a homeschool case, like homeschool parents usually worry about getting credits and all. Does that
Yeah.
like count as a credit for their transcripts?
I Yes and no. So it depends on the person that is working with them. Some parents and some schools have been able to get credits for it if
Okay.
it's usually some sort of like elective or like some
That's what I was
extra
thinking.
class.
Yeah.
So if they have those hours available, they're able to utilize this class and this certificate as a completion for the section. If they don't have those hours available, there's no way for us to fit in. We're not approved through the school system
No,
for
yeah.
young, like we're basically adult education.
Hmm.
But because we're part of the career school licensing in New Hampshire, we don't have an age restriction.
Okay.
So like if a 16-year-old wants to take a 101 class, they're more than welcome to do so.
And they have elective hours open. They can use it for an elective credit. I love
Yeah, I've
that.
worked with a lot of different counselors and a couple of homeschooling to be able to help with that. And whatever they need to report it, I can get the paperwork for them.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, when they come in, is it it's you said it's more hands-on, right? So if they come in for the classes, they're going to be obviously a little lecture maybe somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But then in that 101 class, are they're getting like any real life experience, or is it all just kind of like a teaching, like, hey, this is how you read a tape measure,
Yeah, they're doing a little bit of both.
a
So
little
there's
bit
a
of both?
lot of, depending on safety protocol and what's needed to understand the safety of the different fields. So like electrical, for example, they do a lot of classroom theory in the beginning and they do more hands-on towards the end because they need to know the safety behind understanding the electricity. Basically, we're not going to throw you into the lab just like have at it, have fun. Um,
Yeah.
because some things are a little more dangerous than others, there might be more of a concentrated talk about it before they get into the lab. And then once they understand and demonstrate that they understand through either an exam or some sort of verbal participation, the teacher will start to integrate them into the labs. The oil heat class is almost a mirror image. So, like, for example, the evening, first day of the week, they're all in the classroom talking about it, going over the materials, understanding the materials, maybe even doing an exam. And then the second day of the week, they're in the lab and they're doing what they were just reading about and looking at on the pages. So we tried to make it so that way, whatever they're reading and talking about, they're also going to be demonstrating it in the lab itself. Our oil units and our AC units are fully functional at, like I said, the other two locations. So they're actually able to wire them, clean them, maintain them. They go through and bug the machine so that way the students have to troubleshoot them. So it's like one of
Wow.
the lab
Okay.
exams that they have to go through. So towards the end of the class, they do a lot more of the troubleshooting and understanding why these machines are working, why they're not working. So everything, depending on the type of class or with the type of materials that they're working with, they have some sort of book lesson that they have to talk about just to make sure they understand it before they get
Mhm.
into actually using it. And that's mostly just for safety and understanding why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
We're
it makes
really
sense.
big on giving them skills to get to work. It's not like a college class where you're going to get a whole lot of scientific background of this, that, and whatever. We don't care about that.
Yeah, no.
This is what you got and this is why you're using it, kind of thing.
That's great.
So we pulled out a lot of the fluff out of what some of the other classes are doing at other schools. So that way it's very direct to training to what they need to know to get out into the field.
Now, how long does it take between, like, I'm guessing you guys give them a certificate at the end. So how long does it take for like the time span between like start and finish between before they get that certificate?
So it will determine when their starting date and their ending date is. So each class, for example, the oil heat is the 15 weeks, 2 nights a week kind of thing. It's 120
Okay.
hours. If we have an interruption, like a snow day or something, we add a class on to the end so that way they can
Okay.
make up those hours. So they always get that 120-hour range. And once they complete all of those hours or complete the class, then they get their certificate. So as long as they're passing with the 78% higher or they have completed all of the actual hours itself. Like if they miss a day or two, they don't have to make it up. They just need to
Okay.
make up anything that was missed. If there was an exam or an assignment that need to be turned in, they just have to make sure they communicate with the instructor. And then we give them their certificate. If we feel that they are not ready for that certificate, we have offered them a free retake. So
Okay.
that if they are really invested in it, but they're just not quite getting it, sometimes they just need a second go around to really connect all the dots, especially if they're not working in the field. Um, some of our students are actively looking for jobs while they're in the class, and they have been able to get hired while they're in the class. So they don't
Oh,
have to
wow.
wait until the end to start looking for a job. It's like any other job. It's you're putting out a resume and see if somebody bites. So we do encourage students to start looking and put on there that they're currently enrolled with us. So that way they know, oh, this kid's already looked into it. They're already starting to invest themselves into this field. Let's see where they go. Sometimes they tell them to come back after the class is done and then they immediately get hired. Um, Other students that are not as, I guess, active with looking for the jobs, it might take them a little bit longer to find employment, but it really just falls down on the individual and how diligent they are on looking for that job.
How proactive they're going to be when they're going
Exactly.
through it. Okay.
And I always encourage the students, don't use the online applications if you can avoid it. A lot of those websites like Indeed and stuff, they have filters that these guys don't have
Yes.
the experience to get into. And
Hmm.
these companies aren't even seeing their resumes.
Hmm.
So I usually tell them in your current area where you're staying, look around within 30 minutes or so and apply to all the places that seem to be a good place for you.
Yeah.
I do tell them check your Google reviews because not all companies are made the same. Not all companies do the same thing. And if it looks like a pretty bad company, don't apply to that one. But
Yeah.
looking at some of the companies, you're like, this one looks like a really great company. They're close by. Go in and talk to them and send off your resume or give them a call and see who you can send your resume to. Sometimes they don't have a spot readily available right now, but like 3 months later, they might end up with an open slot and your resume is going to be on that guy's desk. I also encourage them to do a one-page resume, like a cheat sheet resume.
Hmm.
People in the trades don't read. You give them a 3-page resume, and most likely they're not going to actually look at it. These guys are quick to the draw. They want to know all the information right then and there. So I always encourage students that are struggling to make a cheat sheet resume where they have their name and information, a little couple lines saying what they want, like, hey, I want to become an electrician. I'm looking for my first step. Or I'm looking for my first company to work with, and then have your basics, like what your education is, if you have any certificates, and what your basic employment look like. And then that way, if they want a more extensive resume, have that on backup, like your normal
Yep.
2 to 3 page resume with your references and stuff like that. And then that way you can immediately give it to them right off the bat. But I always tell them start with a cheat sheet, and then that way they kind of know who you are, they know what your goal is, and they know you have no experience because there won't be much on there. And then that can help them get their foot in the door faster.
So, I mean, if you guys are offering classes with zero experience, what are you guys seeing that makes a difference between someone that succeeds into making it through the program and passing with that 78% compared to the ones that aren't making that 78%? Is it just like being proactive in the work? Is it sometimes they need to learn different things? What are you guys seeing? If you're taking someone with no experience and then giving them everything they need, what's making that difference there?
The ones that don't pass are the ones that aren't interested.
Is that
They're
what it is?
mommy and daddy shoved them into a class, or
Okay.
they thought they liked it, but they didn't like it. And usually, if we start to see someone kind of coming in late and leaving early, we kind of pull them aside and say, "Hey, do you even want to be here? Do you want to be doing this?" And sometimes they're just like, "No, I have to be here because so and so signed me up." You're like, "All right, cool." Those are the ones that are kind of like, you know, they're never going to make it out there. They don't want this. The students that want to make it, they will get a certificate.
Yeah.
The students that really want to get hired, they will get hired pretty quickly. Sometimes there's like little background things that we've had to help students with. Like they had a troublesome background, they just never, they needed some assistance with it. They have been able to get out there as well. I always encourage the students to come talk to us so that way we can kind of help them with their resume if they're seeing a lot of no's. Where are you going, who are you talking to? And I always tell them to like sprinkle it out there, just send it
Yep.
to everyone. The more you have out there, the more likely you get something come back. Like, what's the worst case scenario? They're going to say no. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like
Yeah.
now you're still at the spot you
Yeah.
were at. Best
Exactly.
case scenario, they say yes, and now you have a job. And so they look at it like, oh, that's a good idea. I feel like some of the young kids are a little shy and they're not really sure how to do interviews. So I just tell them all the time, just go in there and just introduce yourself. Say, hi, I'm looking for a job. This is where you can contact me. If anything opens up, give me a call. And just has to be simple, short, sweet. You don't have to go too over the top. Don't go in wearing a suit. They ain't gonna hire you. You're in the trades. Jeans
Yep.
and a nice top works just fine.
Yep.
So sometimes we encourage them on dress code and stuff too. Like, we've had some students, I go in with like my button-down shirt. I'm like, there's your problem. Just wear a t-shirt. Your t-shirt, jeans, nice clean pair of work boots, you'll get hired. And they
Yep.
like, it worked. And I was like, yeah, and now they know you're serious about it. It's just they look for a type, and that's just you have to look the type. That's how they
Yeah, and I know down here, my dad's in the trades. And I know that we're seeing a massive, massive opportunity to where they're pretty much they need more people. I don't know
hmm
if it's the same up there in New Hampshire, but I know down here, like kids have
Yeah.
an opportunity to go out and make real money if they were just kind of recognize, hey, this is an opportunity for
With
me.
little to no debt too. A lot of
My
trade
dad.
schools are very affordable, and they are very direct to what they need to learn, where colleges have a lot of fluff in them.
Yeah, you're taking
Colleges
unnecessary speech classes and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. So there's different standards that trade schools have to abide by, and it's a little more open to the imagination of the school versus a curriculum that's set by the state or
Yep.
the government. Some of that does change depending on apprenticeship. So like we do have apprenticeship for electrical and plumbing and gas because those are the three big licensing in New Hampshire.
Mhm.
And we follow the federal guidelines that they have. They have a 4-year program. They have to get a certificate for each year. So it is a little more extensive for them once they get through that program. But a lot of companies, so like if you complete your year one, you present them your certificate, they give you a raise. You get your year two, you present them with the certificate, they give you another raise. Some of
Wow.
them will pay all of their apprenticeship. So if they invest themselves into the 101, get hired, and now the company wants them to be in their year one, oftentimes the company will pay for either the full payment, the down payment, or they'll do a reimbursement program. So these
Wow.
students get a really good back with the companies when they get invested into them. Companies are a little wary on investments because they could leave. If they
Yeah, without
leave,
a doubt.
like what happens now? So I always tell everybody, look into your contract when you get hired and see what your benefits are and if you need to pay them back if you leave. Because if that environment's not a good environment for you, you shouldn't stick around with it just because they're going to pay for your schooling. Go find somebody else so that way you have a more comfortable workplace, and then they're probably going to end up paying for your classes anyway. A lot of them do licensing fees too. But there are a lot of older technicians that are the primary people that are in the state that are working, and there's not enough younger people coming in. In New Hampshire, the electrical has been doing really good the past 3, 4 years. We've seen a huge influx, and it's because they changed the laws of how many apprentice a master can hold. So
Okay.
like that opened up more job opportunities. So that's kind of the route that the plumbing's kind of looking into as well. They haven't really jumped on it, but the problem is when they hire an apprentice, they're with them for 4 years. That position is locked in for 4 years. You can't hire somebody else because you don't have another slot to work under them unless you have another licensed person working under you to be able to take on another apprentice. So now that people are getting licensed, you're seeing those guys now taking on their apprentice. So now it's getting more, but when you only have so many, say 10 licensees, there's only going to be 10 spots for apprentice.
That makes sense.
So that's where the gap is really coming through. Also, there was a huge stigma that trades were for dumb people. And when
Yeah,
it
no.
first opened, that was like the biggest problem. Like parents were so afraid to let their kid do a trade. Oh, that's for people who don't know how to. I'm like, look on your street. Who has the nicest car? Like, you
Yeah.
don't have an electrician or a plumber.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't have, 4-year degree, but yeah, they're working every single day. They're doing, 40 plus hours a week, and they're out there making good money. And now that stigma has kind of gone to the wayside. And the one that we're fighting with now is that young people don't want to work. So a lot of companies are hesitant to hire these young people because the narrative's out there, oh, these people don't want to work, they're not going to do a good job, they're always on their phone, whatnot.
Hmm.
But they're not even giving them a chance. So these poor young kids are like trying so hard to get out there. So sometimes we've been working with companies and trying to intervene if we can. Like if this student is a really good student, we try to work with other companies like, hey, like this kid's been trying to reach out to somebody, please help them. But I can't guarantee that for every person that walks through the door. I only have so many connections, but the ones that are like that A plus, like they're going to be a good technician. They want this really bad and they're struggling. We try our best to help them out so that way we can get them out in the field as soon as possible.
So when it comes down to, because like you said, I mean, most people don't realize, like when you think about a plumbing job, like they think, oh, I would never want to do that. But like the plumber that works for my dad, he's making his business is making millions and millions of dollars a year doing it. You know what I mean? They don't recognize he's running around. He's got 5 different trucks out there making money that he's bringing in. Do you guys have anything that you kind of you get him to that apprenticeship, but then do you do anything to where like, okay, hey, this is what like successful people in this trade do to kind of guide them to where like you got to work. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like something you can sit at your house and you got to work, you got to be willing to sweat, you got to be willing to work in the cold. But do you guys kind of guide them at all and say, hey, if you want to be successful in this, here's like how you do it?
A lot of the classes do have that element lumped into it. Like we
Okay.
have tradesmen teaching the classes. These are
Oh,
not
okay.
professors. These are not people who have degrees. These are guys that have been doing this for 30 something years or more. Some of them are retired and their bodies physically can't do the work anymore, but their
Yeah.
brains know it all. So they came in and they teach all these new students so that way they can share their knowledge of their field. Most of the technicians that are teaching absolutely love what they do and they like to show that to the students. So if they see someone with a spark, they feed on that. They love it. They love the show and tell side of things. They love talking about all the crazy things they've run into in the field.
Yep.
And it gives it a little more of a real life experience when they're going through the class rather than having a guy who learned everything from a book.
Yes.
The guys that learn everything from the book, yeah, they might know the technicalities of it, but they've never experienced that. Oh, I was in this guy's basement this one time and this thing happened, and I saw this equipment with that equipment. You don't even know. And they start going on about it, and it just pulls the students that are really interested in that field into that, be like, wow, that's crazy. And then once they start working, we've had recently, because we've been open now for 13 years, some of our students that have went off and taken our classes, gotten their licensing, have either worked with a company or started their own company, are now coming back and want to teach for us. So we're
Oh,
seeing a full
hey.
circle come through, which is really cool because now they can say to these students, I was in your seat. I've
Hmm.
been in your position. And we're starting to see a lot more coming through to us. Recently, this past year, we hired two electricians that took all of our apprentice classes. They started with
No
our
way.
101 and worked their way through. So it's been really cool to see that happen because it's a great success story right off the bat, but also they're able to talk to these young kids and they're closer to their age in a
Hmm.
sense, that they can tell them how their journey was the past like 6 to 10 years because they were in that same spot 6 to 10 years ago.
Yeah, and they can relate to them as well because they were literally just sitting in that chair 10 years ago. They have
Exactly.
a whole entire story they can go. Now with like technology and everything is kind of changing, are you guys like I'm imagining you guys are, but like when it comes to like something new being introduced into the field, are you guys constantly like incorporating that into your lessons and into your like I guess curriculum it would be called?
Yes. So some stuff is just it's how it is. It's never going to
Yep.
change. So we have a lot of that we incorporate, especially some of the older things. So if they run into it, they're not completely blindsided. Some of the newer equipment or tools or things that we can have the actual vendor bring in, or we can go to their facility. We do that as like a field
Okay.
trip kind of thing. There are some specific companies that builds these facilities specifically to teach about their particular boiler or their particular tool. And oftentimes they invite us down. So we try to incorporate that into every class if we can. The vendor stuff is hit or miss. It depends on their availability. We've also done like if there's a trade show that's local to the area, we've invited the students to go to the trade show instead of class. And we
Okay.
have, working with the trade vendor, we've been able to have them have like a sign-in sheet, and the vendor sends us who attended, and then that
Wow.
way we can give them attendance and credit so they can be exposed to new industry leading equipment or tools. But again, that varies from season to season what's available. A lot of the trades companies, like the equipment companies, if there are big changes, we're able to get a donation of their equipment and put it into our lab. But in this particular industry, other than the electrical has a lot of changes all the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of the like heavy mechanical equipment and a lot of the plumbing materials, they have not changed for years and years and years. So we're able to get away with a lot of material being there for a long period of time. But we try to incorporate what we can, and if there are some like a speaker or somebody that can come into the class, or if there's like a secondary certificate they can get from these companies, we try to incorporate them every single chance we get. Like some of our oil heat students, is a specific company, Rayello, they come to every single one of our classes and they do a, I I think it's a 3 hour like seminar, and the students are able to get a certificate from that company certifying them on that particular type of equipment.
Oh,
So when
that's
they do
sick.
get hired, they can show that to their employer as I am a Riello certified technician, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay."
Heck
Um,
yeah.
so we try to incorporate that as much as we can. But it is a variable from class to class, depending on what the availability is and how well we can get it going. It died down quite a bit because of COVID. Basically, all of those positions for those people that promote and instruct on those classes was completely annihilated because we couldn't go out in public. So now we're seeing that that force is getting stronger and stronger, and we're seeing more and more vendors available. Their availability is getting better. So I think in the future, in the next couple of years, we'll start to see that be pretty much very prominent coming in like a specific time frame for every class that they'll be able to be there, because they love that they are promoting their stuff to the younger kids. So when they start going out there, they're able to sell that equipment. They're able to buy that equipment. So these companies are starting to do a lot with that.
This is a quick off topic. Is your dad and his partner still teaching, or are they just kind of running the school
They're
now?
not teaching anymore. Basically, my dad is pretty much solely building out the Moltenboro location.
Okay.
Him and a few other people have been working on that since February, and we've been lucky enough to find a building that we have actually 2 floors. So he built all the classrooms. He's putting
Oh
together all
wow.
the labs. He's hunting down materials and tools and anything he can get for the students to use in our labs in that local area. And then John, he's over in the Hampton area. He bounces back and forth between Hampton and Manchester, kind of monitoring and managing and talking with instructors and making sure everybody's good. He's the one that actually stocks all the supplies for the labs. And he also steps in and will monitor teachers to make sure that they're on track and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and whatnot.
Heck yeah.
And then I'm more on the background side of things. I work on the class schedules and making sure the books and materials are purchased for the classes, making sure the staff's doing what they're supposed to be doing. So we kind of split it up into little pockets, little groups, and we're just working it.
Like it. I like. So I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, Tim, but what's kind of like a little bit like you said, you cut out the fluff. That's one thing. Is there anything else that you guys kind of do a little bit differently than the other trade schools around you to kind of separate yourself, I guess?
I guess the biggest thing is we have labs for majority of the topics that we do. Not all the schools in the areas. When we first opened up this, they were trying to get us to pull a permit for every unit we put in that school
No way.
until the city was like, "Oh, okay, we get what you're doing." Like, why are they sitting right next to each other? Like, 'cause they're made for people to work on them. And I think that's one of the biggest things. We're giving them experience on actual live equipment prior to them getting into someone's home. So if they're going to make a mistake, they can make a mistake in our lab versus being at some homeowner's area or being
Yep.
on a job site. They're able to get their hands actually on the equipment and understanding the tools that they're using and the name of the tools.
Yeah.
We've had some people not know what certain things are called, so they couldn't help on the job site because they don't even know what they're looking for. So this has helped bridge that experience gap. A lot of students that have these classes on their resume are able to get hired because the companies know, especially in the Manchester area, they know what that class is in detail. They've used that class in the past, and now they're able to pull people from that class and be able to expand on what they already know. So some companies will say, I want to hire you, but go take this class and come back to me.
Yep.
And then that way they know the basics, they know the safety.
No, that hands-on experience makes a world of difference because like my dad, he runs big remodel projects and there's nothing he hates worse than working with a GC that has like no work experience that just took the class and got the certification
Yeah,
because they run into problems and he's like, this is the solution. And the guy's like, I gotta go look at my book. My dad's like, that's not gonna work. You need to do this. This is the
yeah,
solution. They don't have that hands-on, so they don't understand like the little ins and outs
yeah,
that they're going into it. They're just smart enough to take a test and pass the
yeah,
test, you know? So I think
exactly.
that hands-on approach there is actually really good.
And we
Um,
cater to a lot of students that are visual learners.
okay.
Majority of the tradespeople, they're hands-on learners. That's just how they are. You can hand somebody a book, like you said, and yeah, they might understand it, but they don't get it.
Yep.
So they reading and writing is not always the strong suit of the majority of our student base, and that's
Which it
okay.
doesn't have to be.
Exactly. So we try to make it somewhere in between. So you have a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing. We do exams mostly to make them feel a little more comfortable when they have to take a really important one. So
Yep.
like there's some classes that they take exams every other week or every week, just so that way when they get to that final like licensing exam, it's like, oh yeah, this is just another exam. I don't have to stress out about it.
They get the background of it.
Yeah, so as our goal is to get them more comfortable in understanding what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing, so that way they can come up with solutions like you were just explaining.
Yeah. All right. The last thing. So, well, because we're a nonprofit for homeschooling families. Now, obviously, me growing up in the trades and my dad doing, I worked construction for 3 years before I started my marine business. You don't need to read and write. You don't need to be a whiz when it comes to accounting. You know what I mean?
Yep.
What, like, for me, it's going to be, like you said, the willingness to learn, that you want to learn, you're interested in it. Is there anything else that, like, the homeschooling families whose kids are saying, hey, this is a path, maybe I want to be an electrician, that they can do early on to start getting them accustomed besides your 101 class, just more along the lines of, would you suggest, like, maybe like looking at YouTube videos, start watching different like things, maybe reading books? Is there anything that they can do early on in the kid's life to kind of expose them to what that life is actually entailing them for?
Yeah, absolutely. We've actually done quite a bit with like, like Mike Rowe, how the
Yep,
Dirty
yep,
Jobs series and stuff
yep.
like that. Videos that kind of demonstrate what the job is like are definitely something that will introduce the students into what they're interested in. So if they're exposed to that type of media, they're more likely to make a decision on what they're interested in. The problem that we're seeing is a lot of high schools don't have any sort of trade supporting programs. And I'm
Mhm.
sure homeschooling kind of has that similar, like you're a homeschooler, you're going off of what's on the piece of paper, you're following a curriculum. So kind of going outside of the beaten path, it was definitely something that could introduce them to what is out there. Figure out like what type of jobs out there. Because even if you say, I want to be an electrician, there are dozens of different types of electricians. There's
Mhm.
not just one type of job. It's like an umbrella term. There's so many different ones. So watching shows and YouTube videos that are what it is to be these types of jobs definitely would introduce them and help them learn a little bit more. But even if there are some sort of like even trade fairs or some sort of construction fairs that would allow the students to kind of go in and see different equipment and see different um, what's out there. It's just exposing them to it.
I
um,
love it.
I think exposure is an understanding that there's other opportunities is going to be a huge difference on what they want to be doing. And we do a lot of like career fairs and stuff for the high schools, so that way they have an introduction of what we have, and also let them know that you don't have to go to college. There's
Yeah.
opportunities other than college. So I know just talking with some of those counselors and stuff, having just a little bit of exposure of what it is that's out there, it helps the students navigate where they want to go. Because how do you find a job that you love if you don't know what kind of jobs are out there?
Yeah, exactly. And also, I have a couple friends who went off to college, got their masters, and now they're working in the trades. So it's like if you can expose them early, it's a little bit, you're A, saving a ton of money.
Yeah,
And you're also saving, by the time you make it through your 4 years of college, you could already be through your apprenticeship if that's the path
exactly.
that you're thinking. You know what I mean? So it's just, it'll save time, the early exposure. The last question I'll have for you is, where would be like the best way to push the kids if they're interested and they're around your local areas to kind of give them more information on you guys? Is it your website? Is it like certain
Yeah, absolutely. And they
website?
can come and take a tour. We do
Oh, really?
tours
Okay.
Monday through Friday during office hours. Any of my office staff, they're all trained to be able to talk about the classes, talk about the fields. Some of them know a little bit more than others. Like when I do a tour, I info load these poor kids. They walk out like, what did I just walk into? But yeah, they can come by and check it out. They can see the labs, they can see the different layouts of the school, and we can have a like conversation with them and whoever they bring with them. So if they want their parents with there, or if they have any other anybody who's their guardian, whoever wants to come in and check it out, if they want to come with a friend, so that way they both want to check it out, they're more than welcome to come in as a group, and we
Okay, heck yeah.
go through and show them the school, talk about the classes, give them some material to take home with them. We usually have like a catalog. Most of that's all on our website anyway.
Okay,
But our website's probably the best place to start for information wise.
awesome. Miss Gina, thank you so much for taking this time and speaking with us. I'm glad we stayed on a little bit longer because
Thank you so
I
much.
thought
I'm
you
so
stood us
sorry
up.
about
I was
that.
embarrassed for a little bit.
Right.
No. Thank you again though. Like I said, we'll push them as many there. If you guys have anything else that comes out or you see any like trade schools or anything like that around your area, feel free to let us know. We'll try to push as many people over there as possible. But thank you
Yeah,
again for coming out and talking with us.
very cool. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you guys.
you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.